Okay, we are recording, so we are back in session, and we've just passed a motion moved by Councillor Bell and seconded by Councillor Bismuth, and unanimously approved to go past 11 o'clock. Okay, we have just concluded with the public meetings. We are looking at no appointments, so we are moving on. We've addressed the request to address items on the agenda. And I thought I saw a hand. Don't scratch your head when I'm looking. The consent agenda items are item P44-18. There are 7. The item is the multi-municipal turbine working group minutes. 2 is the information report PD 03518 regarding the natural heritage system mapping and guideline releases by the province to implement the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. 3 is the information report PDO 5618, completed site plan applications for 2017. That's an information report. That's what it said. Item 4 is an information report PD 005-18, parking ticket update. Recommendation 5 is a recommendation report regarding PD 052-18, amendment to McFeeder's site plan authorizing bylaw. 6 is a recommendation report, PD 04618, Big Country Raw Site Plan Authorizing Bylaw. And 7 is a recommendation report, PD 04518, Van Ringe Enterprises Limited Site Plan Authorizing Bylaw and a repeal of the former site plan bylaw. The recommendation on those items is for items 1 to 4 to be and are hereby received for information, and items 5 and 7 are hereby received and recommendations contained therein be adopted. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Gannan, Councillor Bell. Comments? Oh, Councillor Bell. Okay. So, with regard to items 1 to 3, that they be hereby received for information. Items 5 and 7 will be 5 to 7 will be received, and the recommendations contained therein approved. All in favor? That motion carries. As to item 4, the item with regard to parking ticket update. I need a mover. Councillor Bell, we just have to put it on the table because we pulled it. And Councillor Bilsma. Okay, Councillor Bell.
Item 4, top of the page, page 3, 2017, through you to Mr. Tribble. I'm looking at fire route. Quite a jump in tickets from 1 and 14, 5 and 15, 21, 16. Now we got 64 and 17. Either we're really enforcing that rule, which I appreciate, and continue doing it if that's the case, or is it that much of a problem that people are parking in our fire routes?
Through you, Madam Chair, I've had some discussions with staff and our fire chief. I suspect it's always been a problem, but we're a little more active in enforcement now. But we're only out there, for example, at noon hour and you know, sporadically during the day. But people just have no regard for fire routes. I don't know if it's getting worse or what, but we are a little more aggressively enforcing it now because the circumstance of what if the fire truck needs to go there and you've got an obstacle in the way, it's not a good thing. So
I'm not complaining. I think it's a great thing, and if you have the opportunity, increase the patrol because they have to get it. It's a service. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Other comments on item 4? Seeing none? All in favor? That item carries. With regard to communication, we have an information item on Niagara Catholic District School Board. That is the proposal for disposition of surplus real property, pardon me, at Old St. Martin's School. That one doesn't require a motion. As to item, we move on now to staff reports. Item 8, P4618. That is a technical report regarding Robert Smith's application for zoning. The recommendation is that report PDO 050-18 regarding Robert Smith, 1333673 Ontario Limited, application for rezoning file number 1601-003-18 dated April 9th, 2018, be received and that a recommendation report be presented at a future Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting once all agency and public input has been received. Can I have a move? Oh, and item, no, that's okay. Can I have a mover for that? Councillor Bilsma, Councillor Gann. Comments? Councillor Bilsma.
Just a quick one. Will there be a separate entrance permit for this lot? Or will they, like currently, they're going through the commercial section of?
Through you, Madam Chair. The discussions I've had with Mr. Smith are that he needs to be able to show that he has authority from the region to obtain access from this new parcel, so that we're not creating a parcel that has no legal access. How he chooses to get there is his own decision, and I think for the time being, he probably will continue to use some linkage through the existing business driveway, but we need to know that there is an official legal way to get into that property. Whether he actually uses it or not doesn't matter to us.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? All in favor? That motion carries. As to item P4718, that is a recommendation report for Old Town Gateway Estates, Block 47, and the rezoning of that land. The recommendation is that PD 047-18 regarding Old Town Gateway Estates, Block 47, application for rezoning, file number 1601006-18, and all applicable, and an application for draft plan of condominium file 2000-084-17, dated April 9th, 2018, be received, and that the recommendation report be presented at a future Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting once all agency and public comments have been received. The planning of subdivision Old Town Gateway Estate, Smithville Station, Mars Homes is proceeding, and the site plan review is near completion. I need a mover. Mayor Joyner, Councillor Gann. Comments? Mayor Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Mr. Trouble. Mr. Trouble, we heard a few complaints today considering the sidewalk, the asphalt, and the condition that it's in, as well as over the winter months. There's been some flooding there. Do you have an ETA on when Mars will be putting in the services and in the roads and the curbs in this property?
Through you, Madam Chair, a pre-servicing meeting happened between Public Works and the applicants for the subdivision last Wednesday morning. Security was given to us for the subdivision piece of the development, I believe. I think we're still waiting for the security with respect to the pre-servicing on the south side. But we're getting very close. I think they're hoping to sort of get things lined up so that they're starting to construct within a couple of weeks.
Councillor Bilsma.
I just wanted to kind of refresh the discussion on walkability of Smithville. Probably 2 years ago, I attended one of those open house type work sessions that were held at the station, and where walkability and trying to get these opportunities for people to walk kind of behind the scenes, so to speak, was very important. So I just want to refresh that. That I think that's very important. We have to find. I think it's incumbent upon us to find a solution, an agreement to have public access to those sidewalks and to make some connectivity to the train station or what was it? Not the Galaxy Pallet Road or something like that. So if we can.
Mr. Treble.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I understand and I acknowledge the thought. What I just can't visualize without some better mapping in front of me is whether does Erie Street actually touch this property, or does it stop somewhere before it gets there? And the other side of the boundary of this condo property is a continuation of railway land, but who owns that? Do we own that, or I'm not
Correct.
sure. So
Yeah.
so I need to sort some of that stuff out to see what actually is available to us for access purposes.
But you get it. Mayor Joyner.
And I have a question too.
Sure. You'll be right there in a second.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in favor of, as council is, of having staff look at this. As I understand it, though, that property connects with Galaxy Pallets, and you know, you'll be going into a commercial property, as far as I know. And then it's Erie Street, and then to the train station, I believe, up Rock.
that's what I
But
don't know.
we'll let you look at it and see the mapping and come back and see if we can do it, that's all. But I'm in favor of it for,
You had a question, Mr. Treble?
Well, it was actually more of a comment, my apologies. I just wanted it on the record why we were dealing with this as a zoning application, because it was clear it was zoned at one point with a holding provision.
Yes.
And then that disappeared with the new comprehensive zoning bylaw. But it disappeared with the new comprehensive zoning bylaw because, like a couple of the other scenarios, including the Wade Road lot, all of the studies and works weren't done. One of the conditions was that the property had to have frontage on a public road, and it doesn't. But,
Yes.
and hence the reason the language is somewhat as it is in here. We're trying to make that subdivision piece happen so that this then is legal when we grant the zoning approvals. So there might be a little bit of a delay in the recommendation report here, just to make sure that servicing and streets are actually going in the ground in the subdivision piece. Then it will actually have the public road frontage it needs, or else we're back to talking holding provisions again. So that's partly why we had to go through this process again, because at the new zoning bylaw stage, it wasn't ready.
Gotcha. Great. Well, just as a final item before we vote, I think that all of council has pretty much talked to you about pathways and backways and you know, this might not connect right now, but the fact that eventually the College Street School might open up and there might be an opportunity through there and other slivers of land that we could put together that would get us to a place that either through acquisition or through just contribution, we might be able to get something.
The irony of this is, though, that when we were dealing with the plan of subdivision back in 2006 or whatever year that was,
We weren't born then.
well, okay, I like that idea. We had discussions about access to neighboring properties, like a linkage to the school, and the school basically said, no, from safety and security point of view, we can't have an entrance into our playground from that end of the development. I think the mayor remembers that.
But
So-
then again, that's not there anymore, so.
Exactly.
Times
Different
change.
scenarios.
Exactly. Okay, so that, we have a motion on the floor, duly moved and seconded, all in favor? That motion carries. We have item P 4818, a technical report regarding Roman Itzkovich application for rezoning. That recommendation is that report PD 060-18 regarding Roman Itzkovich application for rezoning file 1601-001-18 dated April 9th, 2018 be received, and that the recommendation report be presented to a future Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting once all agency and public input has been received. Moved by Mayor Joyner, seconded by Councillor Bilsma. Comments? Oh, Mayor Joyner, that's what your hand's doing up, sorry.
too as well. Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilors, I will remind you that this process cannot go forward unless we approve this. And I know that you're all aware that that is the process, due process, so please vote accordingly. I'm with you on every single one of your points that you made tonight. I'm very proud of each one of you for every one of your points, staff too as well. I believe that the consultant did not do his homework, and I'm not sure where this is going to go, but I'm pretty sure that staff has heard loud and clear how we feel about this as a council as a whole. Thank you.
Councillor Gannon.
Just one further thing. In Mr. Rivers' report, just Mr. Treble, so you're aware, he indicates that it was one of the leaseholders, he doesn't mention who, he says it was one of the leaseholders who provided to him, it was on page 3 of his report, the number, the 1448 number of plants. And as Mr. Rivers hasn't seen licenses, and you haven't seen licenses at the township, and of course none of the rest of us have been privy to that information, it would seem to me that the only person who might be able to request them at this time would be Jeff. Is that correct? Does he have the right to do that since we already have a bylaw and enforcement issue going on, or can he no longer go back?
Through you, Madam Chair, I will have discussions with Jeff when he is in the morning. As I understand, all of the licenses are supposed to be on display.
Well, that's
So-
what you explained to us. So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if that would give him the opportunity to, A, find out, who the people, just whether they're even residents of West Lincoln. Like, we have no idea. We have absolutely no information other than a leaseholder, an unnamed leaseholder, has told this planner, who was really ill-prepared, that they can grow in that facility 1,448 plants. And it's questionable. So I just don't know if it's even worth pursuing, but the only person I could think of who could pursue that might be Mr. Bernard, so.
I will investigate. Just for the record as well, the ownership of this property is tied to the north end of Toronto as well.
Councillor Rayner.
Thank you.
Stop giving Toronto a bad name.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Mr. Treble. Mr. Treble, this still really bothers me that they've acknowledged that this is still operating. And it's annoying the neighbors, and it's illegal. But for some strange reason, and everybody knows, years ago I was in the OPP, usually they're proactive, and they leave it to the courts to decide. Is there any way you can pursue this with the proper authorities and see if there's something that can be done if the township indeed can't shut it down? Because regardless if this proceeds or not, at this point, it should cease and desist. The smell and the irritant that these people are subjected to should stop because it's illegal, and most things that we do in the township, if it's illegal, we stop it. So there's got to be some way, shape, or form we could stop it, at least until the point this thing is properly resolved. It seems negligent. I mean, you tried this a couple years ago and say to the police, and I've seen it on Channel 11 where they're unloading plants and loading them in the van, they've caught a grow up, and all of a sudden now they're going to do nothing. It just doesn't make sense that even if they're not sure because he's got a grow license that we can do something about it, at least they should allow the courts to make that decision, and the police should still act as if it's an illegal grow-up, which it is.
I'm not sure I can say anything in public. We'd have
No.
to go in confidence for that.
I agree. Okay. Mr. Treble's not saying he won't answer your question, it's just that we'd have to go in camera to get there.
Again, Madam Chair, I understand where Mr. Treble's coming from. I just don't understand why something acknowledged as illegal can allow it to persist. It's just against our total democratic system where if things aren't right, we usually stop them until they are right. And for some reason, this seems to be bypassed, and it's just hard to accept because that's not the way we do things.
I acknowledge the fact that, and I agree with you that things are sometimes hard to accept, but the unfortunate part is we'd have to go in camera to discuss it further. So I have one quick question about this particular application, and that is that it is a zoning bylaw amendment to our new comprehensive zoning bylaw. Mr. Itzkovich, correct?
Correct.
When we passed that zoning bylaw, did we, that was when we waived our right to no changes to it for 2 years?
Yes.
So in trying to get a settlement that wasn't appealed to the board at the time, we agreed to allow amendments to our zoning bylaw. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having any zoning bylaw amendments at this time. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're onto something there. Yep.
I know. Okay, thank you. I'm not being criticized, I'm not being critical, but I'm just putting that on the table. We need to think about that. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness.
Gotta ask.
Sorry.
Gotta ask, because I've got the same concerns as Councillor Rayner.
Huh?
So can this come up in camera later on?
I don't know
Need
whether or
some
not we
answers.
have an in-camera session.
Or 2 a.m.
I know.
2 a.m.
We could, we normally go in camera for items that have been on the agenda that we intended to go in
realize.
camera, but we certainly can put this on the agenda for administration next week. It'll have enough time. Would that be satisfactory to you?
Yeah, if we can't do it tonight, I'd like to get some answers.
I'm not
tonight
saying
so we
that you
can move
couldn't, but I'm not saying that, we can talk about it later, Wes, before we go in camera. Okay?
on. I agree.
Oh, my. I didn't say we would, I just said we talk about it later. I want to get through the agenda, yes.
I'm kind of with you on that, but just, Madam Chair, I think it's maybe safer for me to investigate for a month and have it on next month's agenda.
That's a good point, too. So, Counselor Bell, I hear you. I understand your concerns as well as Counselor Rayner's. Are you willing to give staff till next month? I think this is like when I opened up the floor for one lady and got two. So how can I say no?
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Treble. Could we check with our legal department to see, because I'm concerned that they just flaunted in our face again tonight that they checked with their lawyer and he said, just keep operating. Yet we have a bylaw, and I've always kind of heard when we want to have the Niagara Regional enforce a rule, the first thing they say, if you got a bylaw, then they will go and enforce it. Well, we have a bylaw, yet they're saying they can't enforce it. So because of what happened tonight with them flaunting that in our face, that my lawyer said, I'm just going to keep operating. Can we check with our legal to see what rights do we have and don't we have? Don't need an answer, just yes or no, can we check with her?
The good thing is our lawyer already has the file. The other thing is I observed the same statement and wrote it on my piece of paper so that I didn't lose. So I'm on
So,
it.
Fair enough, thank you.
so we're going to leave it with you till next month, and we're going to be sure that the clerk and the CAO and you are at one mind as to what will be in camera, what will be in public. Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Duly moved and seconded. All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, P49-18, which is a recommendation, technical report regarding Wade Road removal of holding residential R1B zoning and an OMB appeal for Part Lot 8, Plan M97, OMB File PL 170875, related to the Town's File B10-/2017 WL. The recommendation is that the report PD 022R18 revised regarding Wade Road removal of holding residential R1B zoning and OMB appeal for Part Lot 8, Plan M97, OMB File PL 170875, related Township File B10/2017 WL dated April 9th be received, and that a recommendation report be presented to a future Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting once all issues and concerns have been addressed. I need a mover. Councillor Bell?
This is my conflict.
Oh,
I will
cool, you're
not
right.
be-
I
will not be
apologize.
taking part in discussion or
You're right.
voting.
Duly noted. Thank you very much. I need Councillor Ganan. Councillor Bill, oh, you had your name, okay. Councillor Billsma. Okay. Noted for the file is that Councillor Bell will not participate in this particular item as it is his conflict. Do I have someone wanting, Councillor Rayner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This one has raised a lot of concerns by residents who have been extremely complimentary about the reasons why they came to West Lincoln and Smithville, the reasons why they appreciate being close to the countryside, and the fact that they have made efforts to look after this property. Is this the last public meeting that will be held with regards to this?
Unless the staff deem that it's necessary to hold another one, but I believe, Mr. Trouble, this was the only meeting we had scheduled.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not aware that there's much basis to require another consultation. It was only required for the removal of a holding provision anyway.
Right.
I think the next public meeting will likely be an OMB hearing.
Yes.
I just can't get past the point why Phelps has to insist on building this one property when there's so many people against it, and there is a willingness to offset their profits that they would have made by selling it, by selling the land to the people who are interested and want to appreciate the way it looks. It's bottom line economics, and if the people who own the properties are willing to come up with the sum that would make Phelps happy, at least try to negotiate that in order to best resolve it and keep the credibility and respect in the neighborhood that they want to do. This really looks ugly on them, and they're very upset. And there's other environmental things that they've also done to show that they really don't care too much, but this would be a real turnaround. Is there anything that can be done in the negotiations in this, now that it's not going to be a public meeting anymore? that maybe there could be a mediator or something that could bring the parties together to try to resolve this, make Phelps happy financially, and make the people who live here happy because there's not a house in their face.
Counselor, the reason that the OMB has changed to go to LPAT is that that's exactly what they're trying to do. And they're trying to have mediation happen more than hearings de novo that cost a lot of money. The unfortunate thing is that Phelps' only recourse on this particular item, because it's an application, it's an appeal against our comprehensive zoning bylaw, this is their only chance to have their say in why they want it to be what it is. So, is there a chance before the OMB for a negotiation to happen? At the doors of the OMB, many cases are settled. But at this particular moment, we're following the process. And tonight, Phelps had a public meeting, we had a public meeting that got a lot of emotion and a lot of facts on the table. We don't know what's going to happen, but that was the public meeting, and now it goes through a process that takes it to the OMB. But who knows what will happen before we get there. And it's hard to understand why they do it, but you know what? They have the right to do it. We have the right to object.
And I would understand it better, Madam Chair, had there been some negotiations and they couldn't come to a monetary agreement that would be to the satisfaction of Phelps, and therefore they wouldn't have to try to make money on building.
I understand, Councillor Brainerd,
I just don't know how to bring the parties
but that's
together.
a philosophical discussion. It's nothing to do with the planning application that's before us with regard to a lot that is a lot of record in the township of West Lincoln. So we have to follow the process that we're required to do, which is to have a public meeting and then to allow the file to be considered by our staff with a recommendation, and if that doesn't resolve it, we go to the OMB. We're doing the right things. We're doing the things we are empowered to do, and if there's anything that we can happen between now and a recommendation report, we'll see what happens. But that's the process.
I'm just wondering if there's anything that could be done.
Counselor, I'm going to warn you that we are following a process. We are following a process. Our staff are following it. I think everyone heard loud and clear that we'd like the solution to come back to us that isn't what it is before us now. But I would rather leave it with the planner and our CAO to try and move this forward and to see if there's any resolve that can happen before we get to the OMB.
Oh, that's a better answer.
Do you like that one?
Now I'm
I was
happy.
going to try
had
until
wait
12.
a while before I got it out of you, but I pulled and pushed.
Great.
Tugged, and I'm much happier with this.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Now I have a motion duly moved and seconded in an answer that Councillor Rayner likes. So, on that note, all in favor? That motion carries. And for the record, please note that Councillor Bell did not participate. God bless the CAO and Director of Planning. Item P50-18, a technical report regarding a proposed amendment to the existing surplus farm residents' consent policies, an official plan amendment, whatever. The recommendation, there's no number there. The recommendation that PD 048-18 regarding proposed amendment to existing surplus farm resident consent policies, official plan amendment to be determined, dated April 9th, be received, and that the attached draft official plan amendment be circulated to all agencies and the public for comment by committee and council at a future meeting, and to staff, and that staff circulate the draft policies as attached to all agencies for specific input to discuss the draft policies in detail with regional planning, and that a future recommendation report be prepared incorporating input and comments received at the public meeting and from review agencies. I need a mover. Councillor Bell, Councillor Gannan. Comments? This is just kind of an introduction, so all in favor? That motion carries. Item P51-18, a recommendation report for Shea Jorgao, application for rezoning, file 1601-009-17. The recommendation on that report is Report PD 049-18 regarding Shea Jorgao, application for rezoning, file number 1601-009-17, dated April 9th, be received, and that Section 34, Sub 17 of the Planning Act apply, and that no further public meeting is required, and that that application for zoning bylaw amendment 1601-009-17 submitted by Shay Jargal be denied. I need a mover. Councillor Gann, Councillor Bilsma. Comment? Councillor Bilsma.
So I just want to be clear, because it's phrased as be denied in section, recommendation number 3, we approve this.
You vote in favor
I
of
would
this
say
motion.
I'm in favor of denying it.
That's correct.
Okay.
A vote in favor gets you what's on the recommendation.
Yep, so I just want to make
There's
sure
no
that we're
trick
all
here.
on the same.
There is no trick
Because I'm
on
opposed
this.
to the principle, but it's phrased in the negative, so so we're all on the same page here. We would like this
That's
to
right.
be passed.
A yes is a no.
There we go.
Any other comments? Oh, I was getting to him. Okay, Mr. Treble.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just wanted on the record to say that, as I said earlier at the Itzkovich application, this is an agricultural use, and there are reasons why agricultural uses in the agricultural area don't always fit. So it's on the basis of scale and compatibility and those kind of issues that staff have looked at this and made the recommendation we have. As I said to our CIO today, it is a shade of gray. Until we get before the board, it won't be clear whether or not we've got a strong enough case. We feel we do. Our lawyer feels we do. So that's why we've landed here. But things like property values, security, traffic, and other issues that were generated by the neighbors weren't as relevant to me as scale and compatibility. So if they came back with an application that made more sense in terms of the area per plant and the area on the ground, it might be a different discussion. But right now, the proposal is over 100,000 square feet of building. The zoning bylaw draft that's in the planning's justification report is over 200,000 square feet of building. So that doesn't
For
make
four
sense.
people's needs as a marijuana.
Exactly. That doesn't make sense from our point of view and just doesn't seem to fit the scale and size of this property. So that's kind of how we landed there. I just wanted people to understand that.
We understand. All in favor? That motion carries. Okay, item P52-18 is a recommendation report regarding Kevin Gonson application for rezoning application for draft plan of condominium. And that report, the recommendation is that PD 008-18 regarding Kevin Gonson application for rezoning and application for draft plan of condominium file of 1601-014-17 and file number 2000-086-17 CDM, that condominium, dated April 9th, 2018 be received, and that Section 34, Sub 17 of the Planning Act apply and no further public meeting is required. That application for a zoning bylaw amendment 1601-014-17 submitted by Kevin Gonson and Metropolitan Consulting be approved, and that a draft plan of vacant land condominium file number 2000-086-17 CDM be approved as per attachment 1 in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act RSO 1990, Chapter P13 and regulations there under, subject to conditions contained in attachment number 2 to PD 008-18, and that the application be revised, that the township's draft approval of this plan of vacant land condominium will lapse 3 years from the date of draft approval unless Township Council grants an extension of the approval period. If an extension is requested, an updated review will occur and revisions to the conditions of approval may be necessary at that time. Mover, Mayor Joyner, Councillor Gann. Mayor Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make the comment that unlike item P4718, which you will recall is Old Town Gateway Estates Block 47,
Yep.
that the region will be picking up the garbage, the trash, and the recyclables in that
Condominium.
location. In this particular location, there is not the area for the garbage truck to actually turn around. So I want to make it very clear to the owner, and eventually the owner make it clear to the people who will be building these condos that whoever is buying this, they are responsible for their own garbage pickup. I'll
Yes.
just put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor? All in favor? Okay, sorry, there was nobody over here. That motion carries. Sorry. Item P5318, recommendation report regarding the review of Township West Lincoln road widening policies, and Steve Ecker. The recommendation report PD 055-18 regarding review of Township of West Lincoln road widening policies, and Steve Ecker, dated April 9th, to be received, and that following a staff review, it is confirmed that policy POL-PW-1-04 is hereby still current and appropriate, and the township staff be and are hereby directed to continue implementing POL-PW-1-04. I need a mover to put on the table. Councillor Bilsma, Councillor Rayner. Comments? Councillor Bilsma, then Councillor Rayner.
Thank you very much. So I want to confirm I want a confirmation from staff that the issue that Mr. Ecker raised in the beginning of the meeting is in fact what has been happening, which is monies have been owed based on this allotment, $3 per meter, and we actually haven't been paying that. Is that
It's
accurate?
over 150 meters, so anything over.
So the way that it was described, is that accurate?
Let's ask staff.
Through you.
Through you, Madam Chair, we'd have to have discussions probably with Public Works staff to be able to give a
Yes.
fulsome answer, because it's really their policy to administer. I know there have been road widening rebates that have occurred in the past, because there's evidence of it. There's a file and there's an account and there's transactions that have occurred in it. I can't say whether they've all happened, because I haven't done that analysis. And this one was, the road widening was given authority to be registered on December 4th. I don't see the actual registration documents in here, and then Steve Ecker's email was December 13th. So there wasn't time to make the transaction happen before the email came out. What the timing on those kind of things is, I assume they happen after registration, after we own the land. But I'd have to have a discussion with Public Works to be sure on all of that.
Right, we need to remember that. Planning puts through the report that talks about the change to the land use or the land title or the boundaries, but then it's Public Works' policy to actually administer it. So it's here, and Mr. Treble puts the report through, but then it's really not him that administers how it's how the payments are made. So if we want Planning and Public Works to do it, we probably should be asking that to them.
Okay, and then a follow-up, one of the other things that came to light was, so we looked at the overall plan, and the staff is recommending to us that the policy is fine and it's sufficient, and we could break with policy, but the staff is recommending not to. But there was the issue of maybe updating the amount. And so I would love to put forward a motion that we
Refer to staff.
instruct staff to come up with the current 2018 comparative amount and include that as part of the recommendation. I don't know exactly if that's possible here
How about
tonight.
if we were to refer this to staff to have them review the appropriateness of the fee that's currently in the policy, and that bring it back for us to approve
Yep.
a revision to the policy, and that we retroactively include Mr. Ecker if there's a change to the fee that was determined by staff. I think you said that.
Words in my mouth.
I knew it.
I think
I
I
saw
said
it.
that exactly in my
So
brain.
you're making that motion?
I am.
That's a motion to refer, as well as something else. Councillor Bell is seconding that motion. There's no debate on that. Any all in favor? That motion carries. Did you get all that, Joanne?
Thanks, John.
Okay.
So can I have clarification on that, Madam Chair?
It's gone, Doug.
I know it's
Oh,
gone.
yes. Mr. Mayor, what would you like?
Okay, so in essence, we referred that, so then the payout to Mr. Ecker has to wait then, is what you're saying?
Well, we could pay him out now, and then we could pay him the extra if there's a decision to change the
I
rate.
just wanted to make sure.
I think that it would be appropriate to pay I think I'll leave that with staff.
Okay,
I think we'll follow the policy, and that should be done by them.
okay.
But I do it quick. Okay. Okay. That's item P54-18, recommendation report regarding participation in Smart Cities Niagara submission to Smart Cities Challenge Program. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I
Can you
missed
move it on
you.
to the other without a,
I did vote on that one. Oh, you know what? I didn't vote on the main motion
that's correct.
as amended.
You didn't,
referred.
It was referred. No, the final motion was to refer.
Yeah, so then it's still there, it's still coming in another meeting.
It'll come back.
All right, but I still have a
Well,
question.
there really is no discussion on a referred motion, but since I've allowed the mayor and I allowed two ladies to speak, I think we better allow you, Councillor Rayner.
But I was supposed to be right at, well,
He made a motion to refer, and I should have asked him to hold it till the appropriate time and let you speak, and I do apologize, Councillor Rayner. Please.
all I was going to bring up was that when somebody applies for an application to do something on their property requiring a survey and legal, it's always been the practice that they have to incur the cost. If they're on a road that doesn't have the proper road allowance or 66 feet, and I've experienced that on my properties, then you are expected to pay. I'm thinking that in this situation, as Mr. Eckert has brought up, the individual, when they make the application, is already going to pay for their own, but since the township is in an envious situation where they could ask for the road allowance, they do. But I would like to think it would be fair to the resident that since the township wants something out of it, which is the land, which has value, then I was hoping we could have a motion forward that we could change it, that in the future, if somebody wants something done, of course they pay the legal and the surveying costs for their own property. But in lieu of the township getting this extra land, they would pay the legal and the surveying for getting the extra land, because they're getting that at no cost. That's part of the, if you want this, we're going to give you, you have to give up your road allowance. Well, that's fine, but they shouldn't have to pay for the road allowance too, because the township's getting the land for nothing. So I'm wondering if there's a possibility that that could be entertained, because it seems like they're really grabbing a lot. They're not only taking the land for the road allowance, but you got to pay to have them do it. That seems like they're really gouging. And I know it's been in the past that's what it's been, but
So the
Mr. Eckert
motion-
has brought something up forward.
Thank you, and in my exuberance, I assumed that Councillor Bilsma's motion to send it back to staff and come back was what everybody wanted. And certainly your opportunity to bring that up could be at that time, because the motion that got passed and approved approved the idea of continuing with the policy that's in place. But we would refer it back for a revision of the prices. So it is coming back when staff give us the new prices. We could then bring your motion on at that time,
Okay.
because it would be more appropriate to determine
Yeah.
what would be better done.
Well, it's just not normally when the person who's ahead of you kind of kicks the feet up from under you, but that's okay. It wasn't done on purpose, I know that. But I mean, I had an
It's-
idea, and Councillor Bosma had an idea, and I thought maybe both
Councillor,
of them could
it's my
utilize it.
fault. I should have asked Councillor Bilsma to hold his motion until we'd heard from everybody around the table. I apologize. But there is a more appropriate time for you to ask for that, and that will be when it comes back with the revised fees.
I agree. As long as it's still open down the road, then that's fine.
Okay?
Thank you.
I know. Madam Clerk.
Through you, I just want to mention to you that we
I know.
have 30 minutes and we have some closed session items that definitely need to be dealt with.
Madam Clerk, I intend to ask for a motion to waive the procedural bylaw and go past midnight in about 15 minutes, but I wanted to see how far we got. Thank you very much for that fair warning, though. You are right, Councillor Rayner, you are so correct about the last question, about the last item. Okay, we are now moving on to item P, 54-18, which is a recommendation report regarding participation in Smart Cities Niagara. The recommendation is that PD 054-18 regarding participation in Smart Cities Niagara submission to Smart Cities Challenge Program of Infrastructure Canada dated April 9th, 2018 be received. and that a bylaw be adopted to authorize the mayor to sign the application for the Smart Cities Challenge and any other supporting documentation, including a letter of support, and that the mayor and staff be and are hereby authorized to proceed prior to the ratification of council. I need a mover. Mayor Joyner. Councillor Bell. Comments? Councillor, oh, I was going right to you. Councillor Bilsma.
I'm opposed to this, and I guess the reasons are probably twofold at this point. I found that the literature was quite, like I read through the literature, and it has a lot of that, $10 language, and it has kind of these lofty euphemisms, and in the end, it's quite vague. It's that planning speak, and no offense to the planners in the room, I know that I'm surrounded by, but they know what I'm talking about, and we've had discussions around this about planning speak before, planese, I think they call it. So that it would have been helpful to have some kind of presentation, maybe where we could ask questions about our dullness and planese. And the second thing is, staff is very busy, and I know this is kind of a competition thing, but they take great gobs of resources to get the applications in and supporting documents, and so for those two reasons, I'm in opposition. Maybe it's a fine program, but I don't have enough information to move forward, and I really wouldn't be, as such, then wouldn't want to instruct the mayor and the staff to proceed.
Thank you, Councillor Bilsma. Other comments? Seeing none, the clerk and the director, whoever you are.
I'm going to speak planese, apparently.
Well, I know. Please make it English.
I'll try.
Okay.
I guess the whole concept of this is somewhat nebulous. I'll admit to that.
I think that's a planning word.
Is that planning?
Without cause.
Oh, very good. Anyway, but luckily the region has taken a lot of the lead on this particular application. So, yes, I am attending weekly meetings on Thursday afternoons, but I'm not doing the grunt work, and neither are most of the local municipalities. It's actually the region doing the grunt work. An individual that the mayor is aware of at the regional level is taking it on and making it his project because it will benefit all of us. So there's really nothing to be lost by making this application in my mind. Will we get the award, and what are our chances? Interesting questions, but they're nothing if we don't apply. So, from my perspective, for the amount of effort that's going into it, I think it's worthwhile. It is a bit nebulous and fuzzy, and the outcomes are not very clear yet. So,
Anyone else have comments? Bearing in mind the comments that have been made. Oh, the clerk actually put her hand up. Welcome back to being the clerk, Carolyn.
Thank you. I like it.
You're putting your hand up a lot tonight.
Through you, I think that this is an opportunity for all of the municipalities to, participate in something that may give a big win to the region. That if we do win this project and they're taking the lead on it, it would bring a lot of money to the area. And the project money that they would win would give them the money to do the work. So there's really no, other than the participation we've given to date, we're hopeful that the funding will take care of all of that. So it may be beneficial to the region as a whole, and it's just an application to see if we're successful, and then we'd move forward on how the funding is used. So can't hurt to try, I would suggest.
Okay. All in favor? That motion carries. Okay, the director of, wait a minute, the information report regarding the employment area and employment land designations and 2 sub-areas of the Smithville urban area that are under review. Whew. That report, PDO 5318, regarding employment area and employment lands designation and 2 sub-areas of the Smithville urban plan that are under review, dated April 9th, be received. and that the employment lands designation as depicted on attachment 1 to the report be received for information purposes. I need a mover. Councillor Ganaan, Councillor Bell. Comments? All in favor? That motion carries. Other business. Oh, look at that. Okay, this is a draft letter to Health Canada regarding licensing of individuals to produce medical marijuana that has been prescribed by a medical doctor. Recommendations are that the draft letter to Health Canada under the signature of the mayor regarding concerns relating to licensing of individuals or designate persons to produce medical marijuana be and is hereby approved, and that a copy of the letter be forwarded to the Prime Minister of Canada, Premier of Ontario, Provincial Minister of Health, local MP and MPP, Attorney General, Niagara Area Municipalities, AMO, Ontario Good Roads, and Rural Ontario Aroma. I need a mover. Councillor Ganaan and Mayor Joyner. Comments? Councillor Ganaan.
I would just like to say that there was a great deal of discussion about the last letter at our pre-agenda meeting, and prior to that, I'd made some suggestions. I would really just like to commend publicly Mr. Treble and whoever else spent time working on that letter, because the first letter to me didn't clearly identify the fact that we do not have a problem with personal growing, and we do not have a problem with legally set up facilities that are providing medical marijuana to those who are able to access it through that route. What we are very concerned about is this huge, big, muddy area in between where people are using personal growing license registrations, they are called, not licenses, and wanting to work and produce at the size of the other facility without the legislation. And so I really feel that this letter better addresses that from the perspective that it was meant. So thank you for the work that you've done on that.
Congratulations, Mr. Treble. That was a letter well put.
Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, all in favor? That motion carries. Okay, other business of members of committee. Is there any other business that needs to be brought forward?
What about the turbines?
The who?
57,
Oh, did I miss one? Oh, sorry about that.
trees.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Wishful thinking. Item P5718, that would be the wind turbine projects minutes of the October 24th PAC meeting. The following recommendation that the Public Advisory Committee Industrial Wind Turbine Projects adopted at their October 24th, 2017 meeting be tabled until a staff report is prepared for presentation to committee. And that, the recommendation coming from the committee that should be tabled until the recommendation comes is that the township strike a committee of citizens who were impacted by the tree loss due to turbine, transmission lines, professional assistance from groups like Nature Conservancy and Woodlot Association would be helpful, along with local citizens who have knowledge and expertise on tree replacement and or forestry management shall be included, as well as those industries that the tree inventory affects. I need a mover. Councillor Bilsma. Councillor Rayner. Comments? Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is an excellent idea. I know some people who have asked for a long time that we have this meeting. They're very interested. They want to do it right. They know we have an opportunity to get the right trees, and we can select to make sure that we have the right arborists and the right information so that this is done very professionally, because that would really go a long ways to make up to a lot of the hardship when they've seen a lot of beautiful trees being taken down. This is a long time coming. I'm glad to see it, and I hope we can implement it.
Well spoken, Councillor Rayner. Mayor Joyner.
Madam Clerk, through our clerk. Madam Clerk, why is it that you believe that there are people out there that believe that we're withholding money and trees from them? Is there? I keep seeing this come back, and we keep telling people that we haven't negotiated yet the tree money, and that it's in the process of doing it, but yet we still have people keep coming back to committee and council. Why is it that you believe that people are still doing that?
I have no idea.
But, Mr. Mayor, tonight, We had a group of people who were here who spoke to it and never once mentioned that we were holding back anything. They just said they want to be part. So I think maybe we've turned a corner.
I beg to differ. I thought I heard that someone said, they absolutely did say that we're withholding the money, and they've actually said that we negotiated the money and we're not dispersing the trees yet. I heard that tonight. And so that is why I'm asking, and I see a nod from our Director of Planning.
That's what I heard them say.
And so that's why I'm asking the question. I'm befuddled right now as to why people think that. Because
I don't
we've
know.
said many times before that we're not.
But we are, in fact, handing this item over to our new CAO to continue the process to get us to a solution. So at this point in time, for the record, we have not concluded this. I think our clerk, when she was in the acting role, said that in this very council chamber. So again, for the record, we have not concluded the negotiations with the wind turbine people or anyone else regarding the trees that were supposed to be replaced either to the municipality or to the individuals who lost trees, although there was a discussion of that, and it is contained in the road use agreement. That has not been concluded, and that we are giving to our CAO to continue with the assistance of the clerk. Right?
That is correct. We have not started negotiations.
There you go. So that's for the record. Sorry, Councillor Trombetta.
Just one point, there has to be some sort of issue of money out there, because we had the first sales pitch in council tonight for someone trying to sell trees.
I do believe,
That's the
that-
first time I've ever seen that come to council where someone's pitching to sell trees. So,
I think more importantly, there was an endorsement to try and get trees, appropriate trees planted, but I understand.
so obviously there's things that there's money out there that's available, so.
Thank you. With regard to this recommendation, oops, Councillor Bell.
I agree with everything that Councillor Rayner said. It's a great program. Just want to be sure that when it gets put together, that the group that's selected, the committee, that they have direction as to who's getting the trees, the people that had trees on their property.
Yep.
And because their property is here and our ditch is over here, those trees aren't included. We really don't want trees in our ditches because it obstructs water. And I know we have residents that say that they've lost 10, 15 trees when indeed 12 of them were in the ditch. I don't have a problem giving them an extra 6 trees if they want them. By all means, they're yours. But we need to have guidelines laid out for them that where
Fair
they
enough.
get planted. The gentleman that was here and the group that brought them, that's great. They're being active instead of reactive, and that's fine. But just want to make sure they got some guidelines to work with, that's all.
Got it. Well, this is sending it back. It's being tabled and sent back until we get a report from staff. So I agree with you, and I think there'll be lots of things that we'll want to see in this. Okay. All in favor? That motion carries. Okay, so it's 11:42. I would like a motion to waive the procedural bylaw. Moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Bilsma. I am so pleased to see you moving things like that, Councillor Bilsma. All in favor? All in favor? That motion, all in favor? Oh, okay. Okay. Did I have 3, 4? We had 4. Madam Clerk, I'm now going to, we waived the procedural bylaw. Now I'm going to put a motion on the table to go past midnight.
Okay. You could do it all in one.
I don't like doing it all in one. Gets everybody all confused. Okay. Now I need a motion to go past the hour of 12. I understand, so do I. A motion, Councillor Bilsma, Councillor Gannan, to go past the hour of midnight. I'm going to ask, no comments, all in favor? That motion carries. Okay, other businesses committee. Is there any other matters of business of an informative nature that want to be brought forward? You should go to the washroom now. Yes, Councillor Gannan.
Okay, well, we could save this, but I'll just speak quickly. There are two things that if we wait for another week or we wait till council will be old news, and I just want to put it out there because there were some really good things that happened in regards to our agricultural community. So first of all, the mayor and Councillor Bell and Councillor Chichok and husband and I attended the pork producers banquet, which was just a lovely, fun event for families and certainly celebrated agriculture in our community. But more important than that, on Saturday night, the Niagara Agricultural Lifetime Achievement Celebration took place, and a man whose name was Dr. Joseph Pohorley was awarded that award. And for those of you who don't know, and we didn't know, Councillor Chichok was there because her family is involved and with 4-H. And John and I went because I went on behalf of the mayor last year, and it was a wonderful event, so we bought tickets and went again. But this is the man who started Hildebrand Wines, who invented the first ice wine in Ontario, or in our Niagara area, and presented it to the world. He then set up Joseph's Estate Winery, like very, very influential man, and fairly elderly, and has had this huge history of various pieces of education and whatnot. More important to West Lincoln, one of the things that they did this year was, under the guise of Canada 150, they decided to look at farm communities and award 10 farm communities who have been continuously farming on their family lands for 150 years. Yep. And of the 10 families, 5 were either directly West Lincoln families or were related, because they're just on the outskirts. So the Fur family was there, and Gerald, who was once a councillor as well, was the patriarch at 93, and with him were, his sons and grandchildren, and it was a wonderful celebration for them. The Durham family was also one of the families that was there. The Jones family, the Garr family, were represented as well, smaller scale, but there. And then the other family that didn't happen to be there is the Jeff McDougall farm. And also that family has been continuously farming for 150 years. So I just thought, if I didn't tell you tonight, then it's real old. But right now, it was a wonderful celebration of those families who've added a great deal. And I guess I would just like to say that it was wonderful to celebrate the hard work and the dedication they have to feeding the rest of us, perhaps, in their own way. So that's it. I'll stop.
No, Councillor Gannan, well put. It was a very humbling experience to see these people who their families had been farming for 150 years, and that many of them brought future generations who are continuing to farm.
Absolutely.
So it's great, and it reminds us of how close our community is to the farming and to providing food for others. And to that end, just because you said that, you stole my thunder. April 21st at the West Niagara Fairgrounds is the first ever farm day, where people will have an opportunity to see a number of farming activities and enjoy firsthand viewing what it is that farmers do in their everyday life. And on the 5th of April is Junk in the Trunk. But we'll talk more about that another day. There is a lot of stuff going on in the community, a lot of stuff related to urban and rural living. So you better watch all of the calendars, or you'll miss something really exciting. Okay, so that was members of committee. There's no new business that I've been informed of requiring a motion. So for that matter, I will soon entertain a motion to go in camera, but first I must do this, and that is we would be going into camera for a legal bylaw enforcement matter, which is a confidential report PD-58-18, which is a minor variance appeal, which has the applicable closed session exemptions are personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And the recommendation that will be coming out of that will be that a confidential report PD-058-18 regarding appealed minor variance file A2-/2018 WL be received, and that staff be and are hereby authorized to proceed as directed in closed session, should we consider that. And item P60-18 is a confidential report PD-057-18, a bylaw infraction file RD-002-2017 tree removal Burns Road, a legal/bylaw enforcement matter, and the applicable closed session exemptions are personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before an administrative tribunal affecting the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. We'll read those recommendations should we come out with that particular motion. The P61-18 is a legal bylaw enforcement matter with an applicable closed session exemption of personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal and or local board employees, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Our fourth item is a legal matter regarding a building permit matter and court action, and the applicable closed session exemption is that it's a personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. I need a motion to move into closed session. Councillor Bell and Councillor Bilsma. All in favor? That motion carries.